He said he never meant to hurt me, but it was his words that cut deeper than anything. That night, he chose them, his family, over me. I begged him to stay, even when the storm drowned out my voice. But he turned his back and walked away, leaving me with nothing but the sound of my own heartbeat and a promise he never kept. Now, years later, he's back, acting like nothing ever happened. But how do you forgive someone who destroyed you to protect their pride? I still remember the night he left, even though I've tried 1,000 times to forget. His name was Kaido Takahashi, the eldest son of the Takahashi family, one of the richest families in Tokyo. And me? I was just Rin, the son of their head chef, a servant child who grew up in the same mansion but never really belonged there. We were only 17 when we first crossed the line between friendship and something more. Back then, he used to smile at me in the kitchen, stealing bites of food before the dinners his parents hosted. "You cook better than anyone here," he used to say. "Someday, I'll make you my personal chef." But he never needed to say chef. I already knew what he meant. I loved him in silence, until the night he kissed me behind the greenhouse, where the Takahashi roses bloomed even in winter. That night, everything changed. The problem wasn't us. It was his family. The Takahashis believed in power, reputation, and bloodline. Kaido was supposed to marry the daughter of another rich family, the same girl who used to look at me like dirt whenever I passed. I knew it was wrong, but I couldn't stop, and neither could he. He started sneaking out after midnight, coming to the small apartment my mother and I lived in near the estate. We'd talk until sunrise, about dreams, about escaping, about living freely. He'd hold my hand and whisper, "Rin, I'll protect you, no matter what happens." I believed him, until the night he didn't. It was the night of his engagement party. I still remember the sound of the orchestra echoing from the hall, the guests clapping, and his father's proud voice announcing, "My son will continue the Takahashi name with honor." I was standing in the hallway, still wearing my kitchen uniform, my hands shaking from nerves. I shouldn't have been there, but I had to see him. When our eyes met across the crowd, he froze. For a second, I saw the same softness, the same warmth that had kept me alive for years. But then his father noticed where he was looking, and everything fell apart. Later that night, I found him outside, standing near the garden where we first kissed. "Why didn't you tell me you were getting engaged?" I asked. He didn't answer. He just looked away, his jaw tight. "Kaido," I said again, louder this time, "was everything you told me a lie?" His eyes met mine, cold, unreadable. "You need to stop coming here, Rin. You don't belong in this world." My heart cracked open. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying this has to end." I took a step toward him, shaking my head. "No, you don't mean that. You said you'd protect me." His voice broke for a moment, but he quickly hardened it again. "I can't protect you anymore." "Why?" "Because loving you would destroy everything." He said he was protecting me, but his eyes told another story. If he really wanted to protect me, why did his hands tremble when he let go? Why did his voice break when he said goodbye? Maybe he wasn't protecting me. Maybe he was protecting himself. The next thing I remember is the sound of his mother calling his name from the balcony. He looked at her, then back at me, torn between two worlds. And then he said the words that still echo in my head. "Don't wait for me." I wanted to scream, to grab him, to shake him until he remembered everything we promised. But I couldn't move. My body froze, my chest felt hollow, and I just stood there watching him walk away, his figure fading into the light from the mansion. That night, I packed my things and left. My mother didn't ask why. Maybe she already knew. Years passed. I moved to another city, started working at a small restaurant. Life was quiet, simple. I learned to smile again, at least on the outside. But deep down, the wound never healed. Sometimes, I'd still see his face in strangers or hear his voice in my dreams. And then, one morning, the news came. The Takahashi family's restaurant empire had expanded. They were opening a new branch in the city I lived in. I laughed bitterly when I saw the name on the article. Executive Director, Kaido Takahashi. At first, I thought it was a coincidence. But fate isn't that kind. A week later, he walked into the restaurant where I worked. He looked older, sharper, colder. But his eyes, those same eyes, still carried the same sadness I once knew. He didn't speak at first. He just stood there, watching me as if he wasn't sure if I was real. Finally, he said, "It's been a long time, Rin." I froze. My hands trembled as I held a tray. "Why are you here?" "I didn't know you worked here," he said quietly. "I just came for lunch." But I could tell he was lying. His hands were shaking slightly, the same way they did the night he left. The manager called me from the counter, breaking the tension. I turned away, trying to focus on my work, but my heart was racing. Why was he here? What did he want after all these years? When I turned back, he was gone. Only his business card was left on the counter. "Kaido Takahashi, Director, Takahashi Group. Call me when you're ready." That night, I sat in my small apartment, staring at the card. My hands trembled as memories flooded back. His laughter, his voice, his betrayal. My chest ached, but a part of me still wanted to see him again. Not because I forgave him, but because I wanted to know why. Why did he walk away that night? Why did he let his family destroy what we had? I picked up my phone and typed his number. My thumb hovered over the call button, my heart pounding. But before I could press it, there was a knock on my door. Slow, heavy, familiar. My body froze. I turned slowly toward the sound, and then I heard his voice, quiet, almost trembling. "Rin, please open the door." When I opened the door that night, I thought I was ready to face him. But the moment I saw his eyes, every memory I'd buried came rushing back. The pain, the love, the betrayal, all of it. I told myself I hated him, but my heart wouldn't listen. Maybe that's what hurts the most, loving the person who ruined you. The hallway light flickered as I unlocked the door. My hand hesitated on the handle. I almost pretended I wasn't home, but then his voice came again, low, shaky. "Rin, please." I pulled the door open. Kaido stood there, drenched from the drizzle outside, his once perfect hair now falling messily over his forehead. He looked nothing like the proud Takahashi heir I remembered. There were faint shadows under his eyes, the kind that come from too many sleepless nights. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The city noise filled the silence. Car horns, distant laughter, the hum of neon. Then he said quietly, "Can I come in?" I stepped aside. I exhaled, realizing I'd been holding my breath. Inside, the tiny apartment felt even smaller with him there. He glanced around at the secondhand furniture, the cooking books stacked on a shelf, the single-framed photo of my mother and me. "You've been living alone?" he asked softly. "For years," I said. "It's peaceful." He nodded, but I could see his throat tighten. "I owe you an explanation." I laughed, short and bitter. "An explanation after 5 years?" "I didn't have a choice," he said. "There's always a choice, Kaido. You just chose them." He looked down. "You think I wanted to?" He moved closer, stopping when we were a breath apart. I could feel the tension between us. Years of words unsaid. Things broken that could never be fixed. "My father found out about us," he said. "He threatened to destroy your family's livelihood. He said he'd have your mother fired, blacklisted from every kitchen in Tokyo. You would have lost everything." My heart thudded. "So, you left me to protect me?" His voice cracked. "I thought if I cut you off completely, you'd move on. You'd be safe." "Safe?" I whispered. "Do I look safe to you, Kaido?" He looked like he might reach for me, then stopped himself. His hands hung at his sides, shaking. He said he did it to protect me, but secrets always come with a price. And when a secret sits too long in the dark, it starts to rot. I thought the truth would heal me. I didn't know it would break us again. I turned away, pacing toward the window. Rain streaked the glass like silver threads. "You should go," I said. "Whatever this is, it's too late." He took a step closer. "I came back because my father's company is collapsing. There's an internal fight for control. I'm not here to hurt you, Rin. I'm here because someone's using our past against me." I turned sharply. "Our past?" He nodded. "Someone sent him photos. Of us. From years ago. He's using them to ruin me. To take my position, my inheritance, everything. So now you want me to help you hide it?" "No," he said, his voice shaking. "I came to warn you. They might come after you next." I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "First, you destroy my life. Now you're back to save it." He flinched at my tone. "You think I haven't suffered too? Everything I did was to protect you." I lost my freedom, my pride, and... He stopped, his voice breaking. And me, I finished for him. You lost me. Silence again. Heavy. Electric. He finally whispered, Rin, I never stopped. A loud knock cut him off. We both froze. Another knock. Harder this time. Kaido's face went pale. Who is it? I asked. He grabbed my wrist. Don't answer. It might be them. Them. He lowered his voice. My uncle's men. They've been watching me since I returned. They think you're the weak point. My pulse raced. What do they want? Control, he said. They want the company. My father's legacy. And they'll use anyone to get it. The knocking stopped. Silence fell again. We both waited, listening. Then, faintly, footsteps retreated down the hall. Kaido didn't let go of my wrist. His grip was firm, but not harsh, like someone afraid that if he let go, everything would vanish again. Let me protect you this time, he said quietly. I looked at him, at the man who had once broken me and now stood trembling in my doorway. I wanted to push him away, to hate him, but part of me still saw the boy who once shared stolen food and whispered dreams under the stars. You shouldn't have come back, I said softly. I had to, he murmured, because even after all these years, you're still the only person who feels like home. The words hit something deep in me. My eyes burned. I turned away before he could see. We talked until dawn. He told me about the power struggle inside the Takahashi empire, how his uncle forged contracts, how the board wanted to oust him. He said he couldn't trust anyone except me. I want to believe him, but fear crept in my chest. The Takahashi family had destroyed us once. They could do it again. As the sky turned pale, he finally stood to leave. I'll come back tomorrow, he said. There's more you need to know. I nodded numbly, too tired to argue. He reached the door, hesitated, and looked back. For a moment, his mask slipped, and I saw the same boy from years ago. Rin, I'm sorry for everything. Then he was gone. I sat there, staring at the door long after it closed. The apartment felt colder, quieter. Something about his story didn't fit. If he'd come to protect me, why did it feel like he was hiding something? I walked to the window. A black car was parked across the street. Engine running, headlights dimmed. Inside, I could just make out two silhouettes watching my building. A chill ran through me. Maybe Kaido wasn't the only one keeping secrets. He said he came back to protect me. But protection shouldn't feel this dangerous. Every time he says my name, I can't tell if it's love or a lie. Maybe that's what betrayal feels like, when even safety starts to sound like a threat. The car outside was gone, but the image of those two shadowed figures stayed in my mind like a nightmare I couldn't wake from. I tried to sleep that night, but every sound made me flinch. A door creak, a faint hum from the street, my own heartbeat pounding too loud in my ears. By morning, my phone was vibrating nonstop. Unknown numbers. Messages from blocked accounts. Each one with the same two words. He's lying. I threw the phone onto the bed. My hands trembled. Kaido said he came to warn me. But who was warning me now? The knock on my door made my chest tighten again. Not again. I froze, waiting, until a familiar